An early finish is always a good finish and not something you always expect when the team batting first has put on a mammoth total. You often see it meandering through the 50 overs when they just bat and bat and bat. Well, they batted well for a while, but then once they collapsed properly, and that was a comprehensive victory for India at Visakhapatnam. And here's confirmation: 387 for 5, a mammoth total in 50 overs, and almost a knee-jerk reaction to what happened in the first game. 0-1 down in the series. The West Indies in isolation, not the worst score in the world, but 280 in 43.3 overs was more than 100 runs short of that India total. Well, here we are on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Just to make a sense of it, India now 1-1 in the series, and you'd have to say momentum going forward to Cuttack to win the series comprehensively. Joy Bhattacharjya, Simon Doull in the studio. Joy, it's the kind of result we expected once those runs were on the board.
Absolutely. One is the kind of result you've expected. One is that throughout, even when they were close, they were looking good. It was always the feeling was one wicket is going to change things. And that's exactly what happened. For a while, they ran us close. For a while, it was scary. But you always had the feeling that once the wickets start falling, it's not going to be that easy.
Simon, before I come to you, we have to mention the My 11 Circle expert couch.
Oh,
Just a few days ago, Joy missed out on it by 1 run. This time, he actually got over the line by 1 run. This was, of course, the 10-over prediction. 59, you said. The West Indies got to 55.
Just about made it.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. Looks good.
Looks good on you.
But yeah, it's something that will please India. Any victory pleases you, but it's the manner of the victory, it's the runs you put on the board, it's the catches you've taken for the most part.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think, terrific performance with the bat first and foremost. That's what set the win up. And as Joy said, they cannot keep going at that rate. Something has to give at some stage. There's some brilliant innings. There's some great power hitting, Nicholas Pooran in particular, I thought, in that chase. But just to sustain it long term is so difficult, and you're always under scoreboard pressure, you're always under run rate pressure, and that's what told in the end. And Mohammad Shami, I know Kuldeep will get a lot of the plaudits, but Shami's spell coming back, picking up the 2 wickets back to back was key to that win and that victory and that bowling performance.
Yeah, have a look at this. As we said, there will a lot be said about Kuldeep Yadav, and we'll chat about that more in the show. But yes, 3 for 39 in 7.3. Bowling figures don't always reflect what goes in there. But 41 wickets now for Mohammad Shami this year, the highest in ODI cricket. But today was one of the performances to be proud of.
Absolutely. And in fact, I think he was the last time in 2014 as well. He was, I think, joint winner with Ajanta Mendes with 34 odd wickets. He's somebody who's done this consistently. And see, the thing about him is, if you talk about Mohammad Shami, they always tell you he's a wicket-taking bowler. What has always been brought into doubt in white ball cricket is he a containing bowler or not? But I think what he's shown for India and what India is now beginning to understand and come to terms with is the fact that if he takes wickets, that's the best way to contain the opposition. So if he's going to go for 5 or 10 extra runs, but he gets you those wickets, you should take it any time.
Well, that's the modern game. The modern game is taking wickets. It's not about containment. I'd take 3 for 55, 3 for 60 every game from one of my top line, front line seamers. I'd take that every game rather than none for 40 or none for 35, because it's all about wickets. It's all about putting the opposition under pressure and making sure that when they get to that back 10 overs, that back 12 overs, that they don't have 6 and 7, 8 wickets in hand. That's the key. That's how the World Cup was played. And that's the key to modern one-day cricket, is taking wickets.
And down that list, you saw someone like a Trent Bolt, who's a permanent member of the side. Now, that's the difference between a Bolt and a Shami. Shami has to keep walking back into the team, and yet he's on the top of the list. That says something.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say he's, along with Bumrah, he's the first, he's in there, I think, for mine. Now, then you play your 2 spinners, keep going back to it. When Hardik's fit, you play him and then you're done. And that's your Indian lineup, and that's how it should be. But he was special. Great seam. We always talk about his seam release, his presentation. The ball that nipped Pollard out. Pollard's just hanging back. He's waiting for that short one. Didn't get forward. And, that was curtains for him. So I thought he was outstanding again tonight.
Yeah, there were stages. West Indies had a pretty decent start after they lost that early wicket. They were very much in the game in a sense. And if you can have a look at this, losing Evan Lewis up front, 61 for 1, and then Hetmeyer, that was a bit of a blow run out that came at the wrong time. But then just when you saw wickets having fallen, that Nicholas Pooran partnership with Shea Hope, that really, and it all came in good time. They were about 20 runs ahead of India at that stage.
Absolutely. And you see, the important thing is, and we were talking to Viru upstairs about this as well, the big problem with somebody like, say, Ravindra Jadeja bowling to the West Indian batsman is you tend to get a lot of wickets because you have very good line and length, and they jump at you and you get stumpings or you beat them in the air. The problem is these guys are so strong in their haunches that they're hitting you from the crease. Any batsman who's hitting you from the crease is basically taking away the stumping opportunity. He's not running at you because he's so strong, he can muscle you from there. And that is the biggest problem, which is why you'll see Jadeja's length normally is something, he's an accurate pin down bowler. He's not getting it because they are the kind of batsmen who can sit back, allow the ball up here and still have the strength to hit it out of the stadium. So he'll always, West Indian batsmen will always give them fits, and that's why you didn't see much middle order containing when Puran was batting. And that's the key between these two teams.
And among so many other records, we of course had that other one thrown in with the first time ever in ODI cricket. The two opposing captains both got themselves golden ducks. For India, it didn't really matter too much because Kohli came at a time when everyone was having a party and he just came in and said, all right, I'm just here for one ball. But for Kieron Pollard, I mean, Hetmeyer gone, he could have just still been the one who continued the momentum that Puran set up.
Well, it started the rot, didn't it? Puran 192, 192, 210, 10, 10, and then that little partnership at the back end. So that was the key, because after Roston Chase, what did they put on? 106 in 13.4 overs.
Yeah.
Quite incredible. Or 13.2 overs,
Absolutely.
106. So it was a terrific partnership. And once those two went in back-to-back, it sort of set the rot in, didn't it?
Yeah, and you're talking about 0 of 1, 3 partnerships. You wonder, was there someone who took a hat-trick? The answer is yes, it was.
But you have to see the way he called it. Simon called it. Simon was watching it. And what did you say?
Oh, just as he came out to bat and he was standing there, I said, you've got to go round the wicket, bowl her wrong and make him play it. That was, I mean, you didn't have to be too, I don't know, I didn't think. Come around the wicket, bowl her wrong and just make him play.
But spot on. I mean,
yeah.
You had to see who the batsman was. You had to set the field for it.
Correct.
And
good catch from Kedar Jadhav.
Kedar Jadhav.
Kohli just take the mickey a little bit? Well, sort of giving him a crocodile a little bit, I think, didn't he, after the catch?
He was.
But it was terrific bowling. Really spot on. You still have to land it in the right area. But when you're a tail ender, I mean, I wish I'd thought about this more when I was a tail ender, because I actually know more about the game than I ever did when I played it. I mean, he was brilliant tonight, Kuldeep, but you could see as soon as the line was middle and off stump, it had to be the wrong end. So if you're a tail ender and you're coming into that situation, you think to yourself, right, if it's out there, it's got to be the one that comes back. If I've got to play it on this line, it has to be the wrong end. That's kind of how you should be thinking. But in the heat of the moment, it's easy for us to sit back on the couch.
Second ODI hat-trick for him, and in the build-up show, we were talking about Kuldeep's performances when he's with Chahal, vis-a-vis Chahal on his own, or Kuldeep on his own. So we've seen here now Kuldeep very much doing well on his own.
And look, I'll tell you one thing. I was with him in 2014, which was his sort of breakthrough IPL season, the first IPL season he played. Just before that, he had taken a hat-trick in the Under-19 World Cup. And one of the things about Kuldeep is he's a remarkably confident kid. So he's a kind of guy, otherwise you see the last match, he beat the bats a lot of times, just didn't get wickets, ball didn't go to hand. But he's the kind of guy who'd say, okay, it didn't matter. I mean, I just didn't get them. I beat the batsman, but I didn't get the wickets. At some point, the results will come. And that's what makes him special, because they say that leg spinners, it's important to have head, but the single most important thing is to have heart. You cannot let your shoulders droop if you're hit for a couple of sixes, because the kind of bowling you do is bound to attract a couple of big hits.
And that's exactly right. I'm just going to say that exact point. Kuldeep's going to get hit for more sixes than most, because he flights the ball, and especially against the West Indies side, who have got such power. I doubt that there's too many ones compared to sixes, ones and twos compared to sixes off the bowling of Kuldeep, because it's either out of the park or they play and miss or he's causing trouble. And that's the sort of opposition you're playing against as well. Other teams might try and work him around a little bit more and take the ones, take the twos.
Absolutely.
But against this side, it's going to be 6, 4, dot or out on so many occasions. And that's just, when you're summing up the opposition, that's just kind of how you have to walk back and say, oh, it wasn't my day the other day. But today, he's reversed that and come back and been brilliant.
Yep, and as we said, there's so many records when you look back at the year, look back at different years. We can remind you, Rohit Sharma now has got the highest individual score for India in every year since 2013. Kuldeep now in 2019 becomes the 4th hat-trick of the year across formats, of course. Have a look at this for Team India. Mohammad Shami. It was Southampton, Jasprit Bumrah in a test match in Jamaica, then Deepak Chahar in that T20 international, and Kuldeep Yadav again in an ODI. So covering all three formats. And Joy, if I'm looking at that list, we were on the show for 3 out of 4.
Yeah. We've been there. I almost want to take credit. 3 out of 4 can't be a coincidence. It's us. Gautam, let's face it. I mean, give credit where it's due.
Yeah.
We were the ones who did it.
Yeah, and the only other one we weren't there is because it was a test match. And maybe going forward, we could even be doing.
I think we need to ask the producers about this. If India needs to win consistently, we need to be there.
Yes, I know. And there have been suggestions that have been coming out on that. There are, of course, enough of a presence now, and I'm sure we'll have more of that. But from the opposition, you'd have to say with Nicholas Pooran, Shai Hope, there are enough bright sparks. I mean, when Kieron Pollard goes to Cuttack, he will know he's lost the game. But I think there'll be plenty of bright sparks that he'll look at. The continued form of Shai Hope. Nicholas Pooran is one for the future, and he's just showing what his maturity is. But Shai Hope.
Yeah, Shai Hope again tonight. Up the ante a little bit tonight. I mean, he was quite slow in the first ODI, but it didn't matter.
He had Hetmeyer at the other end.
Yeah, he had Hetmeyer going at the other end. But when he lost Evan Lewis at the top there, he actually upped the ante a little bit more. I was quite impressed with his innings tonight. Strike rate of 91. Yeah, it needed a Hetmeyer and a Pooran and Pollard all to come off. And he could have been going at 91 to 95 tonight if he'd made 70, 80 and done that. If those three all come off, they're all going to strike well in excess of 100, and then the West Indies can get close. So I think he's still the guy that the West Indies need to build their team around, and all that power can play around him. But when he can up the ante like he did and get a strike rate of 90, 91, I think that's good enough.
Yeah.
So enough talk about the bowlers who might have lost the odd half a crore or a crore, but has Shai Hope done enough at least to arouse interest?
I think he has. And what I'd like to see is Shai Hope exactly as the kind of batsman who, say, if you take a Rajasthan or somebody who plays on slightly more dodgy pitches, to say he's the guy who's going to hold up one end, because you've got to be in situations where you're 30 for 4. He's the kind of guy who's going to bat through, while somebody else goes and takes a risk on the other side. I think there's place for a Shai Hope, just like Rahane has played T20 cricket really successfully. For a long time, CSK used Badrinath like that, like not a big hitting batsman, but they'd bounce him up and down the order saying, you are an emergency man, you are a go-to man for any emergency. I think you can use Shai Hope like that as well. I mean, not necessarily stick him in an opening spot and just allow him to play from there. So there are many things you can do with the batsman, and the guy has shown exactly as Simon is saying, that he has the temperament. His scoring rate was remarkably better. Why? Because he knows that Hetmeyer is not there at the other end. I need to take a wicket to that scoring load.
I'd have him on a good surface. So I'm only looking at probably 2 or 3 teams if I'm going to pick him up. Kings 11, I could have him. I could have him up in Mohali playing on a very good, fast, bouncy surface. Kolkata, I could have him if they miss out on Chris Lynn. We could possibly think about...
Correct. Given the fact that Narayan goes at that
Narayan goes anyway. We know they're going to buy Owen Morgan, or they're going to try and buy Owen Morgan. So, I mean, I could have Shai Hope at the top of my order in Kolkata. There's no issue there. It's probably about the only 2. I mean, you might think about Hyderabad, but possibly not. The rest of the surfaces I don't think are going to suit him as much when the ball's coming on. Plays a short ball really well. If it's not too quick, I think it'll be all right.
And he's got a 16-ball 50 in a T20 international, has Shai Hope. Doesn't have any credentials in franchise cricket, but this could be the starting point.
I think what he does have credentials in is that he's got a very steady head in his shoulders, and there's no doubt at all that he's a good reader of situations. And I think T20, one of the things about T20 is adapting to situations. So he's got temperament, he's got that calm head, and I think he can play this game. I think he could be really useful. Also, he seems like the kind of guy who's a good presence in the dressing room. See, the one other thing I'll tell you is, IPL coaches, it all depends on that one coach, one analyst, one captain who believes. So it's like Sunil Narayan. Sunil Narayan was a nobody, but we played a practice match in 2011 against the Trinidad team, which was the Champions League at that point in time. And Gautam couldn't read him. Gautam is one of the best players of spin in the world. Immediately we took him in the auction. Shai Hope just needs to impress that one captain, that one coach who says, you know what, I could use
leadership skills as well. I think I hear him in a press conference, and he seems like he speaks very well, very intelligently about the game. Add to that, damn good keeper.
Exactly.
You need that. He's a very good keeper. So if you within India, you should be able to find a very good local keeper anyway, because there's plenty around. But if your wicketkeeper went down, if he struggled, I mean, he's an option to do that for you as well. So I don't think he'd be a bad choice at 50 lakh, which is, you know, it's not a big price for a quality overseas player, even if you're looking at a backup opening batsman who's going to be a decent team man.
At 50 lakhs is less than 1% of an IPL team's budget. Less than 1%. That's a number.
There you are.
There you go. That puts it into perspective, and I think the timing of his innings and coming into form is just right if he is to come in there. But also the timing of one person, Simon Doull, playing his My 11 Circle team. He wanted Rohit Sharma as captain. So his team, of course, was completely rocking. But what was the My 11 Circle the ultimate team? And let's have a look at this. So obviously Rohit Sharma captain, just as Simon Doull suggested. KL Rahul vice captain. Now this is the ultimate team. Obviously people would have tried to have put in a Virat Kohli in there somewhere, and this particular team doesn't have Kohli in because this is in retrospect. This is in hindsight. This is the perfect team. But we had a few people out there who might have had Kohli in, but they might have had the right teams to get that ultimate team in. And who is our My 11 Circle champion of the day? Let's go and find out who got the most amount of points, and the winner is Ravi Shankar from Delhi with 523.25, and you can tell normally you get about 350, close to 400. You've done well.
He listened to me.
He did. Rohit Sharma is captain.
Yeah, well done.
Lots and lots of points, and obviously you'll pick up points for Puran, you'll pick up points for Shea Hope.
And very tough for a Delhi boy to pick a Mumbai man as captain. But well done. Well done. You know.
He's obviously not taking Kohli.
Yeah, he's...
Well, that's the beauty of the international cricket or even the IPL, since we're talking so much about that. I think city boundaries get shattered.
Yeah.
They certainly do. But we're going to keep going around the country. It's all started today in Visakhapatnam and now heading, well, actually not too far away. If it's any city that's as close to Visakhapatnam as you can get, it's probably Cuttack. Just down the coast or up the coast, a little bit north. And India versus West Indies, the final ODI of 2019, and it's going to be a cracker because 1-1, everything to play for, but clearly momentum with Team India.
Yeah, absolutely. They needed to bounce back tonight, and I think after that first game, they were under the pump. They found wanting, I think, lacking in a few areas. Kohli would have had a good word to them, and they bounced back, as you know India do, as you just knew that they were going to. Winning the toss and bowling for the West Indies did not make one bit of difference tonight.
Will they still have an hour extra of fielding drills?
Some of them will. There might be a naughty boy training.
But nine catches down from India. They're not looking themselves in the field. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's almost like a bug you catch and it just goes down the team. I don't think they're not practicing that much, but somebody needs to calm them down, talk to them. Something needs to happen.
Different players all the time too, isn't it?
Absolutely.
But Shreyas Iyer last game, yet tonight he was good.
Yeah.
Deepak Chahar tonight.
Deepak Chahar tonight.
There was one other tonight as well. It was
Virat himself misjudged one completely, going backwards.
Virat misjudged one a little bit. KL Rahul dropped one.
And Rahul was at second slip.
Dropped Shea Hope when he was on naught.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, now one more aspect that we want to bring in, and we haven't seen it as impactful in some grounds, but Cuttack, if you look at, if you rank grounds in India by due, Cuttack would be in the top few. Is there a case then for saying that knowing that due is there, can we push up the start time? It's still 1:30 as the other two games have been.
No, I don't think it's going to happen now because it's too close.
Not now, but I'm saying, is there a case for, should it have been?
I think definitely, because if you're talking about a day match, in any case, you're starting a match, it's not that people are going to leave office and come at 2 o'clock. If they're leaving office, they're probably going to leave the office at 11 o'clock as well.
Sunday.
In which case, it doesn't make a difference. Start as early as you can. It's a broadcast day. So we would definitely look at that. I think what happens is organizations like Star, any broadcaster wants a constant time because they're scared that people, you can keep reinforcing one message, you don't want 3. That's the only reason to do it. The other thing is that on a pitch like this, if there's so much due, given what's happened, do you play Ravindra Jadeja again? Because that's something that India needs to think about. I mean, he's really, as I said, the West Indies, the way they're playing him, they seem to have a sense of, what he's doing.
Well, it leads nicely into that discussion of possible changes to the team. You may not want to tamper with a winning combination, possibly.
They very rarely do. India very rarely change a winning combination. Now, I don't know. I thought, I mean, although Shardul Thakur was a little bit expensive, someone's going to be when an opposition are chasing 380 and they're throwing the bat at it. They are going for everything. And yes, they bowled out for 280. They win by 107 runs. It's a comfortable victory. So someone is going to fetch at some stage in a chase like that because the opposition just want to find boundaries. I don't think he was bad tonight at all.
Not at all.
So I don't see them changing it unless it's a really dry pitch, a really different situation and a different surface that they encounter in Cuttack. I don't see them changing. They just very rarely do it.
Chahal would have been a contender, but otherwise, if it was Shardul Thakur, I guess Shivam Dubey would walk in there as that all-rounder.
Yeah, look, I mean, I would say that you could, given the way the Indians are batting right now, I would put in a Chahal for a Jadeja and take the chance of batting at 6 because I genuinely feel that it's just going to be easier with him with the West Indian batsman than it is for somebody like a Jadeja who's struggling a bit and mentally, if it hits you, it's not that easy to recover. But that's as I think it's very, very unlikely given two things. One is that Jadeja is really important in the field to India, and Virat feels him as one of those dynamos in the field. He's got him back and he feels he's almost like a good luck symbol around. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I would have liked to see Chahal play.
But from the West Indies point of view, remember they made 2 changes today despite having won the first game, and that was because they felt that the left-arm spinner was going to be more impactful than Hayden Walsh Jr. and, of course, Evan Lewis walked back in for Sunil Ambriz. However, going to the third ODI, now that they've lost, and they've lost pretty comprehensively, is there now a case of even trying out someone like a Romario Shepherd who could be very useful with the ball, and he's excellent down the order with bat?
Yeah, I mean, could he come in for Cottrell, who didn't have a great day again today? I think they need that left-handed presence. Otherwise, you've got Holder, Paul, Alzari, Joseph, all right-arm seamers. So I think they need that left-arm presence in there. Again, you're not going to drop any of the batsmen. Hetmeyer just unlucky today. That run out was sort of a little bit confusing, I think, for him. Shea Hope, Nicholas Purran, they're not
the
going
left column
anywhere.
you don't even
No,
look
Roston
at.
Chase is not going anywhere, I don't think, although he didn't bowl well.
He bowled terribly, but yeah, he is their 7th bowler. He's not really their first top 5 bowlers.
And they have shown that they like to work around the 7 bowlers, and they feel comfortable with that. So we feel as things stand.
Yeah, I think as things stand. I think that was probably their best lineup today that they can pick, and they
Did
will.
you feel Curry Pair was the right move?
I didn't mind it. Maybe they'll go back to Hayden Walsh Jr. for the last one. I didn't think he did too much wrong in the first one, and we did see that wicket was turning a bit. Even Roston Chase was getting a little bit of turn, so maybe Hayden Walsh would have been a better option today.
Yeah, so plenty of questions asked by the bowlers. India's bowlers doing it. Kuldeep Yadav, 4th hat-trick across all formats for India in 2019. But the real questions that are asked on this show are in charge of, or just one man in charge of that. And today it was a nice, long, meaty question. So I think take us through the question again, and then let's get to the answer.
Deep breath. Here goes. Okay, one player replaced another as an opener in an India-Sri Lanka Test series in the mid-80s. About 22 years later, the second player replaced the first as cricket manager of India and was in charge of a historic tournament. Just name both players who have also played for the same state in the Ranji Trophy, and the answer is Lalchand Rajput and Ravi Shastri. And the most fascinating fact about it is, one replaced the other as openers, and both of them basically had come as openers because Sunil Gavaskar has said, I'm no longer going to open the innings, I'm going to bat at 5 or 6. So they first go and try Lalchand Rajput for a while. And mind you, at that time Shastri was still in the 11, and after that they said, okay, 2 tests they gave Rajput, then they said, okay, next we'll try. And then Ravi Shastri came in and started opening, and that was that.
That was it.
Yep. Well, let's have a look at who our winner is. I'll come back to your fact again. Let's have a look at the winner. And
Crick.
I mean, it's not often that we look at that and say, oh dear, not because we don't like you, but because you're always first on the gun. I guess with a complex question, sometimes it can happen because he's figured it out faster than everybody else. So well done, Rohit, again and again and again. Yes, you were.
No, all I wanted to say was Rajput went on to become manager of that famous 2007 team that won the T20 World Cup, which is what started it all. And then I think for the first year, he was also manager for the MI in their first year. Of course, that didn't work out so well, but hey, to win that first 2007 tournament would have been special for him.
Yes, one more reminder to
It's his birthday today as well.
There's always a little
So is that where the origin of the question started?
I will not say that because then people will start researching.
Yeah. Birthdays.
Okay, well, maybe not. For always a good reason. Somebody did something, an anniversary, a birthday, or there always has to be a relevance to it, which is maybe a hint. Look for that. May not just be birthdays. Maybe if you can't answer a question, think of a relevant reason why it would be asked on that day, on this show, with some of these people around. So there's always a good reason for a good quizmaster to throw a good question at you. But when you talk about questions and answers and money and cricket, it's all coming together tomorrow, and Cricbuzz Live will be there to cover every bit of the IPL 2020 auction special. Gaurav Kapoor with Joy and Harsha will be in the studio, and the time, I'm going to hand it over to Simon Doull to tell you exactly what time you should come on board, and you've got a special way of reminding everyone.
Well, I don't want to upset anyone. It's just something the boys talk about quite often. Chinese dentist.
Why?
On air at 2:30.
2:30?
Yeah, 2:30.
2:30.
Yeah, my tooth is hurty.
It's 2:30. Is your tooth hurting? If your tooth is not hurting, make sure tooth hurting. You tune in to Cricbuzz Live.
So Chinese
2:30.
dentist. Yeah, that's it.
Not meant to offend anyone, but it's just a bit of fun there. 2:30, given that we had a Chinaman bowler who took a hat-trick today, so 2:30. Yeah. Are we allowed to say Chinaman just for this show?
Yeah, just for this show. Right now, I think they're taking it out. But
Yes, otherwise left
Is it going? I mean, it's becoming that PC that we're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah, well, so I've been told.
Yeah,
but,
I know. The reason was
I'm sure
he was
Ellis
the
Sachong
first-
wouldn't have minded.
Yeah.
It's been named after him, great West Indian player.
Ellis Sachong, absolutely. And you had actually, even Googly was called Bozy for a long time, and nobody really
BJT
minded.
Bozankit.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonny Gavaskar goes on about the Mancat, doesn't he? Quite often.
Yeah, which is also not particularly edifying for the player.
No, he thinks it should have been called the Brown.
Yeah, Bill Brown.
Because he was the guy that was actually out. It shouldn't be called the Mancat. It should be called the Brown.
Named after who?
Named after the guy that was actually in the wrong in the first place. Because Mancat did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah, there you have it. So now you'll never forget, in case you thought you were going to, you won't forget the time that you're going to tune in for that IPL auction special. But of course, post that, cricket continues. For the last ODI of 2019, we will also be back for the game in Cuttack, and that there's going to be no change in time over there. It is going to be a 1:30 game start, so we're going to be here at 1 o'clock to preview everything for the final ODI between India and the West Indies. All to play for, and by that time, a lot of players from both sides, particularly from West Indies, will know if they're any richer to be able to make an impact in that final game. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
And we'll see all of you very soon. First of all, tomorrow, 2:30.